The house on the hill. It was a dark and stormy night. A young couple, Jake and Lisa, were driving through the countryside, looking for a place to stay. They had been on a road trip for a week, and they wanted to explore some of the rural areas of the country. They had heard about a quaint bed and breakfast that was located on a hill overlooking a lake. They decided to check it out, hoping to find some peace and quiet. They followed the directions that they had found online, but they soon realized that they were lost. The road became narrower and more winding, and the trees grew thicker and darker. They saw no signs of civilization, only an occasional abandoned house or barn. They started to feel uneasy, but they kept driving, hoping to find the bed and breakfast soon. They finally reached the top of the hill, and they saw a large house looming in front of them. It looked old and dilapidated, with peeling paint and broken windows. It had a sign that said, "Welcome to Hill House," in faded letters. "Welcome to Hill House," in faded letters. Jake and Lisa felt a chill run down their spines, but they decided to give it a try. Maybe it was just an old house that needed some renovation. Maybe it had some charm and character inside. They parked their car in front of the house and got out. They knocked on the door, but there was no answer. They tried to open it, but it was locked. They looked around, but they saw no one. The house seemed deserted. They wondered if they had made a mistake, if they had come to the wrong place. They decided to call the phone number that they had found online, but they had no signal. They tried to use their GPS, but it was not working either. They felt trapped, isolated, and scared. They decided to leave, but as they turned around, they saw something that made them freeze in horror. The car was gone. They ran to where they had parked their car, but there was nothing there. Only an empty space and some tire tracks. They looked around, but they saw no sign of their car or anyone who could have taken it. They felt a surge of panic, wondering how they could get out of there. They ran back to the house, hoping to find someone who could help them. They banged on the door, shouting for help, but there was still no answer. They tried to break the door down, but it was too sturdy. They looked for another way in, but all the windows were boarded up or locked. They started to cry, feeling hopeless and helpless. They wondered what was going on. Who was behind this? What they wanted from them? They heard a loud creaking sound behind them. They turned around slowly and saw the door open by itself. They saw a dark figure standing in the doorway. It smiled at them with a twisted grin. It said, "Welcome to Hill House." It was the last thing they ever heard. The Lost Trail. It was supposed to be a fun and relaxing weekend. 4 friends, Mike, Anna, Ryan, and Zoe, decided to go hiking in the woods, away from the stress and noise of the city. They had planned to follow a well-known trail that would lead them to a scenic lake where they could camp for the night and enjoy the nature. They packed their backpacks with the essentials: food, water, tents, sleeping bags, flashlights, maps, and a compass. They also brought their phones, but they knew they would not have much reception in the remote area. They were not worried, though. They were experienced hikers, and they had done this many times before. They drove to the trailhead early in the morning and parked their car. They checked their gear and started their hike. The weather was perfect, sunny and warm, but not too hot. The woods were beautiful, green and lush, with birds singing and squirrels scampering. They felt happy and excited, looking forward to their adventure. They followed the trail markers, which were wooden posts with red paint on them. They chatted and joked along the way, taking pictures and admiring the views. They stopped for lunch at a clearing, where they ate their sandwiches and drank their water. They rested for a while, then resumed their hike. They expected to reach the lake by late afternoon, but as they walked, They noticed something strange. The trail markers became less frequent and more faded. The path became narrower and more overgrown. The woods became darker and quieter. They felt a sense of unease, but they shrugged it off. Maybe they had taken a wrong turn somewhere, but they could easily find their way back. They checked their map and compass, but they did not match the terrain. They checked their phones, but they had no signal. They started to panic, realizing that they were lost. They decided to backtrack, hoping to find the last clear trail marker that they had seen. They walked faster, but as they did, they heard a loud snap behind them. They turned around and saw a large branch falling from a tree. It landed on Ryan's head. He collapsed to the ground. He was not moving. He was not breathing. He was dead. They screamed in horror. They ran to him, trying to revive him, but it was too late. They cried in shock and grief. They wondered what had happened. They looked up at the tree. They saw something that made them scream again. It was a man. He was wearing a dirty and torn camouflage suit. He had a long beard and wild hair. He had a rifle in his hands. He had a grin on his face. He said, "Welcome to my hunting ground." He aimed his rifle at them. He pulled the trigger.